Scott Swift's full email from the past has been leaked where he spoke candidly about making Taylor a star and the amount of money he has poured into Taylor's career. If you haven't the email, which was sent to Taylor's old manager, here it is, Dan. Bear with me. I need to vent. Have actually entered this into the Ripley's longest email contest. Got your email and not sure how to respond. I can respond as a friend, I can respond as a brother, as a dad, or as Taylor's dad. I know one thing. No one is going to aid you and Taylor in becoming successful more than one will. I am your banker. Nothing drives that home more than your experience with SOL, and I am your and Taylor's biggest fan. I will sell a hell load of t-shirts. My goal in this email is for you to have a better perspective of how much I do, how much I have bankrolled you to, and how much I have to deal with on the home front. I am one of Taylor's custodians, and while you spend more time with Andrea, I want you to understand why I should be kept up to date with what is going on. We are getting to a very important time in Taylor's career. I sent a very positive email to you, and you bared your soul to me, so I will let you in on what my world is all about. Save this email. Someday you will be a dad, and you will appreciate it. Doesn't matter how much you have accomplished in your life, when you come home, you are a dad and a husband, and even Disney trashes dads. Don't laugh, you are going to be in the dad's union, and no matter how well you do with Brit or Tay, you're a dad and your wife and kids will put you in your place. The good news is that your kids are all that matters. The rest is all crap, so you put up with it. Britney's kids won't care how great her career was. It's life. I am currently on email restriction from Andrea because I forwarded the Today Show jab that Chuck sent to me. I am not allowed to send Dan an email unless Andrea approves it first. Can you even comprehend that? Welcome to my world. Send it to her or mention it to Taylor, and there will probably be a quick divorce. Now I am glad I sent that email to you. I can give you a better idea of what your banker's life is like. Thank God over the years I do not pay attention to Andrea's rules. I'll explain later. Don't laugh, you'll be there. In the future, if you wonder about an email one send you, please call me. Don't involve Taylor or Andrea, just call me. Andrea thinks I talk to you every day and bother you every day. I don't, but I do something positive for Taylor and you every day. I'm not quite the idiot that Andrea portrays me to be. Keep in mind that I manage $270 million, but more importantly, 249 relationships with families at Merrill in a terrible market. My clients average 17.4% in a market when the rest of the complex average 3.8%. I'm in the top 1% of all brokers at the most prestigious investment firm in the world. I manage a staff, I manage my clients' lives, their money. I have moved my family to Nashville, cleaned out 2 houses, sold 1, handle all the mail, make all the address changes, changed all the registrations on the cars, boats, etc., jockeyed between Reading and Nashville, found out I had cancer with Good Morning America in my living room, had my prostate sucked out of my body by a robot on January 4th, was in diapers for 7 weeks and can't get it up. Everyone is running at full speed. We all have our own axe to grind. I actually have 1 less axe to grind. One of the reasons I do so well with my clients is that I do plan. I do look at different scenarios. I always have a better plan than their attorney or accountant because I do talk and ask questions, and that drives my wife crazy and pays all the bills. Welcome to my world. Don't laugh, dude. You are going to be there. On top of that, you and Andrea have no idea how much time I have quietly, and sometimes not so quietly, stayed on top of Taylor's career while I'm trying to balance all the other stuff. My clients do not want to hear how much stress I am under or what I have done for another client or how much time I have spent copying videotapes and sending them out when Taylor was 11. It is a cruel world, but we have great lives and we move on. They want to know how their account is doing. Don't laugh, because you are going to be a dad and your kids are not going to care that you launched the biggest perfume launch. They are going to want their bike fixed, a new paintball gun. On the other hand, Britney and Taylor are not going to care that your kids kept you up all night. I am going to do anything that I think is appropriate to do to advance Taylor's career. Your involvement with SOL does not help me. If you feel bad, good. When I screw up, I feel bad. I learn from it, but I never forget it. When you told me you invested and lost money, I felt bad, but never could understand why you would put any money in that direction. Now you tell me that you got your uncle involved? I could glad hand you like the rest of the world and tell you that's okay, Dan, but I won't. The guy had just fired his band. He probably has a tattoo of his old girlfriend on his... He had a very wealthy father-in-law, and while I only spent a weekend with him, he was all over the board with goals. Is he a great guy? Yeah, but he needed you more than you needed him, and he should have paid up for your services. Otherwise, it is too easy to walk. I would write SOL on a piece of paper, pay your uncle's family back, the same way I will pay you back if DCDC does not work out, crumple the paper and move on. Everyone is back to where they should be. You brought the issue up. Taylor is worth your efforts. You hopefully will become very wealthy sympathy with Taylor. When you first told me about SOL, my thought was that that was taking time away from Taylor, and it did. You worried about it, it bothered you, but I am not going to glad hand you and give you an A for great decision making. You get an A for Taylor. She is the best and will never disappoint you. Taylor will define your life's work. Luis of SOL never cared enough about himself. When someone has tattoos all over their body, there may be issues, or you to deserve your great management. Dan, you are the best. Do not take anything less. Just remember, when you were funding SOL, you were sending me bills from Larry's mother for $118 in Federal Express bills. Go figure. Some things just make you go, ah! That went over like a pregnant pole vaulter, but I bit my tongue. Andrea told me I was an idiot for bringing it up to her, so I shut up. I do not want to be Taylor's manager. We have the best one, but let me vent. How did we get Dan Dimtro? Taylor's theater group, which had never been invited to sing at Municipal Stadium in Reading for the Reading Phillies, was asked to come out on Oldies Day. Who on the board of directors suggested Oldies Day? I did. Who then offered up the cast of Grease? I did. Who had promoted his 11-year-old at every board meeting to the point that when the guy who was supposed to sing the national anthem did not show, they came to Taylor and said, "Can you sing the national anthem?" I did, which led to the Harlem Wizards national anthem because the person in charge of it was in the stands. Who videotaped it? I did. Who then made copies and used old contacts to send it to the 76 ERs while being told he was silly? I did. Who bought tickets for all of Taylor's friends to go support her when she sang in front of 23,000 fans? I did. Who got to sit in the car with her friends while Andrea and Taylor were getting first-class treatment in the dressing room? I did. You will. That's not quite fair. Whose wife thinks I talk too much and promote Taylor too much? Mine. Share my pain, please. Who has made every single client listen to Taylor's latest song before we went over their financial plan? Nobles Grove, Bloomsburg Fair, Boy Scout dinners, chamber dinners. Took heat for all of it, but it was part of the process. I kibitz, not allowed to say kibitz anymore, therefore I am. Who then sent the 76 ER's tape to his attorney, all the time being goofed on, who was the president of the USTA. At that point, if Andrea was in charge, we would have talked to Kelly, gone to the US Open, and left. Who sends tapes, CDs, songs, pictures, etc., and gets to know Kelly so that she feels comfortable enough to make the introduction to you? Who pays for absolutely everything? Who is the guy that gets goofed on for talking too much? Dad. Who filmed it all? Dad. Who gets to go to New York, New England, and every cool appearance? Not Dad. Can't fix hair. Dad talks too much. Who pays for trips to New York? Dad. Who makes sure and takes days off to make sure that whether it was Radio Disney, Brits Camp, or any event that we had stuff to give away? CDs, frisbees, headshots. Who even thought to put that stuff together? Who blew up 500 beach balls on the roof for Radio Disney? Dad. We are going to Britney's camp, but you and Austin can't come. Who gets to babysit Austin? Who at the last minute has to find some place to print CDs? You got it. Dad. Who funds the whole process but does not get to come to the dance? Dad. Who has made enough money that if we have to take off across the country, we will be okay? Who hires staff ahead of time so that we could move to Nashville? The idiot that lives with Andrea. Dad can be lonely place. Don't laugh, you are gonna be there. You'll understand one day. What about Nashville? I invite Scott Sanford out to the lake. We do not talk about Taylor. He wants to see the lake. He sees our jet skis. He wants us to corral ducks for Nashville's duck drop. I agree to corral ducks if he lets Taylor be the talent at Riverfront Park for the duck drop. I take my boat towing 2 jet skis through the locks, 35 miles to Nashville. I heard, and then have to pick up 15,000 little rubber ducks to the point that my arms are falling off while my daughter is singing. That week, the band ran up a $3,000 bill for practice. Fired Jamie, but her performance was good for her and created some buzz. Big effort, yeah, worth it. Who knows? Did I get to see Taylor's performance? Actually no, because I was picking up 15,000 ducks out of the river. Not the brightest, Dad, but she did get a very high-profile gig. I connect with Bill Anderson. Taylor does his fanfare show. Good move. He says, every once in a while, someone comes to Nashville and creates a buzz. Maybe they are a good writer, maybe they are a good singer. This next girl has created the biggest buzz of anyone I have ever known. Get to know her name, because you're going to hear it for 25 years. Bill is signed to Sony ATV and RCA. He was talking up Taylor all over the place. I videotaped it. If I do not videotape, it does not happen. Keep in mind that I helped Bill in 1980 in Reading. I sold my $10,000 dock to him for $5,000 last year, knowing full well how much he can help me over the years. I found the pontoon boat he bought, and I was the one that advised him that he should spend the money to clean up his inlet because he can't take his money with him, and where he is going, it would burn, and he would be too busy talking to his friends to write a check. The memories with his grandkids were too important. He has thanked me over and over. Do I talk too much? Better believe it. And it is in your best interest. I call a reporter at the city paper, explain that I used to be a reporter, stringer for the Associated Press and the Philadelphia Bulletin, and I have a daughter who is a freshman at Hendersonville High School, who is hanging in every Abercrombie and Fitch store, and it might be a good article. I may have read them wrong, but both Taylor and Andrea feel that I am overstepping and should let you handle things. The newspaper article comes out in the morning. WSMV sends their TV crew to the high school in the afternoon. Is Dad at the interview? No. Did the work. Got out of the way. Good for Dan and Taylor. Absolutely. Did it create a buzz? Yep. At RCA and everywhere else. How did we get the Bluebird? I stay in touch with Rob, who I think is one reason she got the Sony deal. They listened to the production, went to the website and listened to Taylor in person, loved that you were her manager. We go to a 3.5 hour writer's night with Rob playing at the Bluebird. Painful it is over. Andrea wants to bolt. I go over and talk to Rob. Rob, when are you going to get Taylor in here? You should get your young writers all together. He thinks it is a great idea. Talks to Amy and the Bluebird is in place. That is important because the newspaper article, the TV coverage, the appearance at the Bluebird did not hurt for Good Morning America. Sometimes things just happen for the right reasons. How did we find Scott Borchetta? I was told under no uncertain terms not to send any more CDs to Frank Bell by Andrea. That was at song 5. Right. Without Frank Bell, Scott Borchetta does not know Taylor and we do not know him. The end. I have known Frank for longer than I have known Andrea. On certain days, I like Frank more than I like Andrea. Frank would get in a car and drive to Nashville to save my life. He is the only one who was honest with Taylor and challenged her. And I'm not supposed to send tapes, so I sneaked them out. I paid for the computer. I actually paid for your computer. I paid for the production. I have accomplished a great deal in my life, and somehow I am not smart enough to judge what is going on. Frank knows Jimmy Harmon, who is working with Ashley Gearing. Ashley's career irritates Taylor, and she goes to a new level. Frank tells me that there are 2 people that he wishes we could work with, but they are both at Universal DreamWorks, Jimmy Harmon and Scott Borchetta. He does not think it would be good for Taylor to be at Universal. That was 3 years ago. Frank does a video with Taylor Swift music in his pocket. Sandy Borchetta does the styling for the video. She was Reba's stylist for 15 years. And Frank plays Taylor's music. Most of it produced, I paid for and have never asked you for a dime, and some rough. He does not give it to her because I asked him not to. She goes home and fires up Scott. But we were tied up by RCA, and Scott is now aware Jimmy Harmon, who has left Universal to work with Jody Messina, is now aware and blown away by Taylor. He also talks to Scott about her. The whole time we were with RCA, every label promotions person that called on Frank Bell got to listen but not have Taylor's music. He drove them crazy, but I was not, according to Andrea, supposed to send stuff to Frank. The press kit was not even going to go to Universal. Frank called and said send a press kit to Universal. Rendy addresses it to Luke Lewis, who is on record and on Taylor's Good Morning America shot as hating kids. Frank calls, and as the press kit is being picked up for delivery, Frank says, do not send it to Luke, send it to Scott Borchetta as promotions. The press kit was headed out the door and Frank called. Scott was not A&R, he was the director of promotions. Now Jimmy Harmon, who worked for Scott at DreamWorks, is at Capitol as director of promotions, and he loves us. The Bluebird performance was important for Scott, and maybe I talk too much, but I'm not hurting our cause. We would not know Scott Borchetta if I did not have a big mouth. Have one. Proud of it. Wait till you have a daughter. I will get so sick of looking at your soccer pictures, but I will. Dads are dads. But see, I was not supposed to be in contact with Frank, so I had to bite my tongue and do the right thing when you went to see Scott Borchetta with Taylor. It was the right thing for me not to be there, but I want you to know how it came about that he even got the package. Vent time. Yeah, I have a big mouth. Frank could not believe that after all his work, I was not at the meeting. I told him that it was the right thing and that I trusted it would all be good. He continued to work behind the scenes and always will. We will get major airplay in Pittsburgh. I am going to do what I have to do to make you and Taylor successful. I am not going to get a lot of credit, but understand that I am not a contractor or plumber that does not have a clue about how to help the process. Did I have my SOL with Rendy and Jamie? You bet. Expensive frickin' mistake. But it all happened when it did not matter. I had the money to correct the situation. We learned about leeches and check references. When the RCA contract was 4 months into negotiations, I did step in. Andrea told me to let you handle it. You did not step in, but there is a point where, as a dad, you know something is not going well, and the contract between you and Taylor has taken so long for no reason at all. The RCA contract was being held up because they were negotiating over tutoring. Yes, I stepped in. What's the holdup? When I found out it was tutoring, I could not believe it. There is no tutoring in a demo deal. If I had not stepped in, we would still be negotiating and looking stupid. Your contract with us did not come to closure because of Andrea or you. I finally got involved. You thought we were dragging. We could not understand why you were dragging, and someone had to get it done. But I am just the goofy dad who talks too much. Vivian got mad because I was the pushy dad when I was working in your best interests in Taylor. We had a handshake, and that was good enough for me. But someone, and it probably should have been you, needed to push the process. I was told by Andrea to stay away from Arthur and Sony, like I live in an institution and only get out on weekends. I had to quietly stop by Sony as soon as he made the offer. All I did was tell him that I really do not have anything to do with Taylor's career, but if by some chance the attorneys got into a logjam, would he please call me? They did, he did, and I helped to move that along before he lost total patience. He is best friends with Scott Sanford at RCA. I was able to fly under Andrea's radar and get it done. Good for Taylor, you bet. Dan, when you told me about the SOL money you lost, I felt bad, but as your financial advisor, I think that you should have been making a hell of a lot more money from Larry. We will always take care of Dan Dimtrow. You should have never had to go to your uncle, and you should not have. I can't sugarcoat that. Do not involve family members ever. All there is downside. If you do, you must give them downside guarantees. You will not lose money in DCDC because I guaranteed it. The only way the SOL issue will pass is if you pay back your uncle's family. If you need the money, I will lend it to you. You need to spend no more time on this. But let's talk money, okay? Andrea says I cannot send emails to you. I am not sure what conversations she thinks we have had, and she is mortified that I would ever think to bring up money that we have invested in Taylor and the move. I am not about money, and Taylor is not, and I know you are not, but you should know what has been spent. There is no money that you spend on your children that you mind. But I wish I had a banker like you and Taylor have. When you say, let's do I Am Every Woman, it was a great idea, but the total production on it was $4,600, not counting the stuff Andrea may or may not have bought while over in Rob's neighborhood where all the shops are. I had to ask to find out where that song and Your Face were. Andrea told me not to ask. You were not updating me. I had $7,600 tied up in production, and I'm supposed to not question it? I take my banker out to lunch once a month. Because I paid Rob ahead of any production, unlike anyone else in Nashville. When you called for the outside, he dropped everything and did it. But we pay our bills, and I know how these guys are. We are the only ones that pay ahead. Dumb. No. Smart business. I will get burned, but in general, I will always have their attention. Here's the short story. There is in excess of $150,000 of hard dollars spent on travel lessons, production, $29,000 not counting duplication, website, not too many artists come with a website like ours, and I know that is not the total value. There are a few months that we do not get a $500 bill from Mad Dancer on the website. Ronnie was worse. Original cost was $5,000. Have I complained? No. As a financial planner, is it fair to Austin that Taylor is taking her half of the estate now? Probably not. The move, delightful as it has been, involved moving out of 2 houses and all the crap you had to put up with times 10. The expense has been over $200,000, not counting that I am being taxed in Pennsylvania and Tennessee. This year's was $31,000. Now, admittedly, some of this was furniture, etc., but without us moving here, Taylor is not where she is today. I changed the phone numbers, I changed the boat registrations, I changed the car registrations, I changed the addresses, and all my registrations with Merrill. I commuted back and forth from Reading, managed my staff. Do I need to vent every once in a while? Yes. Sold the Shore House because it is so far away. Yes, we made a nice profit, bought for $400,000, sold for $2,425,000, but New Jersey put a mansion tax on, and I get to pay them $158,000, and it pushes me into AMT, Jill, and I lose the 15% capital gains and pay another $500,000. Been going there for 52 years. Someday you'll be a dad. This is a huge commitment. Regret any of this? No. But if I am the one that has to go into Nashville and spend a day in court while Andrea is in Los Angeles, if I am the one that has to spend a half day setting up trusts for Taylor, if I am the one that pays the lawyers and pays Andrea's way and takes care of you with $5,000 bonuses, would like some return on my investment. If you're headed to Nashville with one appointment with Warner Bros. And you call me to call Sony and Vivian to call RCA, no problem. But I specifically did not call Sony because I knew how negative he was on kids. I have to stay home because Andrea Andrea thinks I might say something stupid. Gosh, I may have a different style than anyone else, but I am at the top of Merrill because I apparently know how to work relationships. Just wait until you are married and every word you say is analyzed by a wife. It is a thing of beauty. So who gets called at his office to complain how negative Cliff was to you? Me. Who comes out smelling like a rose? You. Who wanted the appointment? You. How did we get the relationship with Taylor Guitars? Because once Taylor bought her first guitar, I called the company and kept them up to date with what Taylor was doing. We made a special CD for Bob Taylor, and I now help Bob Borbonis in many ways. He has become a good friend. A huge hook was your management of Taylor and their intrigue as to where that was going, but I made sure that they were in touch with what we are doing. Taylor's appearance in their magazine and in Anaheim helped you and Taylor. You have the luxury of having a family that handles the website, handles taking Taylor to Nashville for writing sessions and sitting in the car for 2 hours, drops everything when you ask us to, and has not burdened you with any financial responsibilities. We are at a critical time. You know it. I know it. I know you have been busy. I need to not get my information through Taylor, who you do a great job of contacting, or Andrea. I can make suggestions that dazzle attorneys and accountants. I may have 1 or 2 ideas that you have not thought about. You should know when Sony is paying Taylor. You should know about the process of setting up the trusts, etc., and where it stands, because I cannot pay you until it is totally court approved. 2 final points. When you talk deal points to Andrea, please understand that I generally do not get told the conversation, and she does not know who our mortgage is with, who does our insurance, who is our accountant, what is the balance in the checking account, or how much I made last year. I am not putting her down. She would rather have molten lead poured on her forehead than talk about finances. I am the one that will get the blame if anything goes wrong. I have some thoughts. Scott Borchetta has never been and will never be the typical record guy. Like you, there is something special about Scott. I know you have been molested by Jive, but you're going to tell me I was right years from now. He lives and dies for his artists. This is not from him, but from people who have had to go up against him. Taylor is the way you can get the yoke off your back about how good you are. My dad would not let me go to work for him because he said if I was successful, they would say it was because of him, and if I failed, they would say it is a shame he could not live up to his father's expectations. Manage Taylor to greatness as a writer, one strategy, as a singer, another strategy, and as an eventual movie star, she has the talent, and people will know how good you are. When we talk on Friday, let's limit it to 10, 15 minutes. I want to talk every week to you because I am paying the bills, but I do not want to tie you up too much. If you have a problem with an email from me, tell me. We need to prepare as a family, and maybe you have laid out a plan with Taylor and Andrea, but they have not communicated it with me. Do we take off as a family, or do we break up the family and Austin and I live here, and Taylor and Andrea hit the road? What would be your best guess on what happens the next 2 years? What kind of money are we going to sink in? Now that we can start paying you out of Sony, what is your responsibility? Who is going to be our attorney? I thought Lewitt was a known entity. I will talk tomorrow. If I mention a Jim Reeves investment, please don't discuss it with my daughter, who treated me like I was an idiot for trying to lock up 32% return. Dan does not even know who Jim Reeves is. You are a god. I'm just a dumb dad. Don't laugh. You are going to be here. Wait till you are dad. It is a bizarre land to live in. Finally, if you want to get rid of me, please forward this to Andrea. I will then move out of the country because, like you, in 15 years, if not now, you will live in fear of your one very last thing. That is the last positive email I ever send you. Now I have to get back to work so I can pay for some event that I won't get to go to. You know I love you, and I will do anything to help you and Taylor. You could have a worse dad to work with and no finances, which of course will happen if you mention this email to Taylor or Andrea, since I am on email restriction to you. Don't laugh. Scott Swift.